there's a neat application to what is going on in Samson's life and really what is happening right now in the Southern Baptist Convention. We have a presidential candidate this last year, Mike Stone, suing Russell Moore because he says that Russell Moore cost him the presidency of the Southern Baptist Convention,
Yep.
in which he says that he could have had $750,000 of earning potential.
Yep.
Now, when I look at Samson and I look at what is happening in just church politics and leadership today, it is a stark reminder that there is no such thing as power in God's economy when it comes to leadership. When you look at God's definition of leadership, it is always the first shall be last, the last shall be first. And so leadership, as Jesus lives that out, is about laying your life down.
Yep.
It is about relinquishing power to elevate God's servants, God's people. So the call to leadership and the position of leadership for Samson was not to be used for his benefit.
Yep.
And neither is it to be used for our benefit in our day. And I believe, we are in somewhat of a sin cycle, Judges era mindset
Yep.
in our American Christian worldview. And I think this is a powerful story that can remind us that we should evaluate our own desires and ambitions when it comes to influence and leading others, and we should put that evaluation into the context of what we see happen to Samson.
Yep. So a few things about Samson's story that I just want to highlight and make sure that we don't, even though we don't have time to get into everything, and man, I wish we could. We could do a whole episode on every one of the judges. But one of the cool things about the story of Samson is if someone has it in their mind that if someone is like called out by God for a specific purpose, oftentimes we assume that the reason they're called out is because they must be morally a good person. And the second we make that mistake, not only are we underestimating the sovereignty of God, but we're also underestimating the depravity of man. And so the cool thing about the Samson story is that he was called out even before he was born. According to God's purpose, he was going to be a judge. He was set apart by a Nazirite vow. God was going to use him to deliver Israel from the Philistines. That was going to happen. God spoke it. He's never wrong. Like you can bank on it. But here's the thing. So God has declared what's going to happen in the future, but Samson is still human, which means he has free will. He can choose whether to obey and submit to God or reject God. Same choice that all of us have. And when you read about Samson's life, it is apparent from the very beginning, this guy does not care about obeying the Lord, and he does not care about submitting to his laws. If you read through his life, it is hard to find a single story or an example where he is even somewhat morally defensible. You should read about his life and come to the conclusion that Samson was one of the worst people like in the Bible when you read through it.